You know what to do? Bolero. High schoolers go to Bolero next week. I've been there last year. Really fun. There's food. I think it's unlimited, right? Yeah, unlimited food, pizza, arcade, bowling, laser tag. Laser tag.
Laser tag is what's on the notes.
After Sunday, the price will go up because late fee. We want to make sure everyone gets in, so register early. There's a link tree on the site and also Facebook.
And lastly, Robbie and kids ministry could use help with ushering or watching kids on Sundays. Both are very fun. Ushering is super easy and it doesn't take super long, but come and join. I'm there sometimes, not usually with kids, but a lot of other high schoolers are, and it's enjoyable. So give it a try.
Next up, games.
Yay!
Uh-oh. This isn't Among Us, this is Imposters.
Yeah, non-copyright. Come at us, Inner Sloth.
All right, so basically tonight we're going to be playing a game. How many people have played Among Us before?
That's
all right,
what I
a lot
like
of
to
excitement.
see.
All right. So essentially what we're going to be doing, I need 10 volunteers. Who wants to volunteer? Okay, blue shirt, gray shirt over there.
All right.
Other gray shirt, blue shirt. Sorry, I'm bad with names, so. Dude, perfect shirt.
Hey, respect, good YouTubers.
How many people do we got so far? 4? Oh, we got more.
Let's see, how many we got?
Who really wants it over there? Okay, well, you stood up first, so you can take it. Hand up over there. And then
I got some more high schoolers up here. Nadia, back there, let's go. We got anyone else?
7.
Tucker.
Come on, Tucker. Come on.
You got it, Tucker.
Come on.
Come on, man. Well, sure. How many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4.
So that's 4.
We got 8. All right, you two.
Who'd you point at?
Those two.
All right. All right, if you guys want to watch the screen, I'll have some instructions up there. So you're all the intergalactic space crew. Who really doesn't want to stop back for snacks on Glork Prime? Best planet ever.
Deal with it.
All right, so if that was just a lot to take in, essentially what all you 10 of you are going to be doing is that we'll pass out the cards. You want to pass out the cards then?
For sure, yeah.
Don't look at who the other people are. You want to make sure you're socially distant from each other so you can't cheat at all. So essentially what the 10 of you are going to be doing is that there's 2 imposters among the 10 of you. If you're part of the crewmates, you want to answer 10 questions right, essentially. And for the imposters, you want to stretch it out as long as you can so you can vote the other people out. Make sense for everyone? Is anyone... We're all good?
All good?
All good? All good. Can we have the first question? All right, we'll start down here. You have the first question. On the American flag, is the top stripe red or white?
White.
What is the answer?
It's red.
Oh,
Is that kind of sus? Ooh.
I think that counts as pretty sus. I don't know. All right, and we'll just keep moving down the line. So you have the next question.
Whose face is on the $100 bill?
Is it Jackson?
Is it Jackson? Ben Franklin.
It's all about the Benjamins. All about the Benjamins.
That's sus.
All right, which city is nicknamed the Windy City?
I have no idea.
There's like 10,000 cities to choose from. Choose one.
I don't know.
He's hesitating. What is that supposed to mean?
I'm thinking. Oklahoma City, because I don't know.
Yes, Oklahoma. Is it Oklahoma City?
It is not Oklahoma
Chicago.
City.
I like the
As
way you
someone-
think.
Time to shove someone out the airlock.
So now between the 10 of you guys have to decide who you're going to throw out the airlock at this point.
Wait, can I say? Wait, what?
Discuss amongst yourselves there. Who do you think the imposter is?
All right.
And if you guys want to get on and try to accuse people too. Well, yeah, just everyone on stage.
It is only the first round.
I know it's only the first round.
So
Who
there's
are you
not
guys thinking over here? What are you guys thinking? All pointing fingers at her?
Ooh.
All right, I think we have our general consensus.
All right.
Are you an imposter? No? Oh.
You were like,
Unfortunately, you got thrown out the airlock, so you still have to get off.
And two imposters live for another round.
I like how often you just got it wrong. Wait, can the imposters kill someone? No.
No.
No. All right, next question. Ooh, spell check. I hope you're good at spelling. So this day comes right after Tuesday. What is that day? And you have to spell it.
Wednesday. That is spelled Wednesday.
Is she right? She's right.
Wednesday. Let's go.
All right. Oh, we are?
All right, this is the second month of the Gregorian calendar. What is the answer and how do you spell it? I'm just the host. I'm not supposed to know answers.
February.
Okay, how do you spell it?
F-E-B-U-R.
And that's already one letter off.
That's pretty sus. Pretty sus. All right, moving on
All
down
right,
the line. We'll come over here. So, this household cleaning machine totally sucks. But which one totally sucks?
Vacuum. VACUME.
Is she right?
No.
Oh, got hit with
Two
the double
U's, no E.
U's.
This isn't the UK.
Oh, emergency vote. Who's voting who?
I guess the whole audience is voting.
Oh, you want to?
All right, so this time we're having the whole audience vote on who we are casting out into the airlock. So we got to get at least one or two sus. Okay.
Maybe we'll just do a little scanner action. When wherever you guys get loudest, maybe we'll. Oh.
Okay.
All right, he's pretty safe. He's
All
pretty
right.
safe. We'll come over here.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, I think it's pretty clear. So, who are you?
I'm a crewmate.
Crewmate. Ah.
Okay, well that's
a
cheating,
shame.
so you get voted off
If you
anyway.
could, do you think you could exit in like a more like kind of action since you're being blown out of space, right? Show us what you got.
You have 10 seconds to
Wow.
That's an inventive way to get blown out of space. All right.
It's more graceful than I would have been, that's for sure.
We got a time trial.
Time trial. You have 10 seconds to complete this challenge.
Okay.
Everyone switch a shoe with someone in the crew. Time's ticking. Tick, tock, tick, tock.
Halfway down.
Tick, tock. Man, time's up. Time's up. So we have like a half shoe on over there.
Okay.
That was a good
Interesting.
effort. Good
This is
effort.
interesting.
But I think you're really the only one who doesn't have it on. I mean, it's a little sketchy there. A little bit. No, you just keep the other person's shoe on. Team spell check.
Spell check. Spell the answer one
Letter per person. And we'll start over here. So, first of all, you have to know who the 44th President of the United States is and spell it. Okay? Yes. So you're gonna answer the question, then all you guys have to spell it one letter at a time.
Wait, do I say it? Like Obama.
Okay.
Okay.
Full name. We want the full name.
Barack Obama.
Okay.
Okay.
So can you start off spelling it?
B. A. R.
A.
C.
K.
O.
B.
A. M.
All right.
Are we right? We
Let's
are.
go.
Well, I
All
don't know.
right.
They forgot the space in there. So technically,
okay,
we'll give it
technically.
to them. We'll give it to you guys. We'll give it
Yeah.
to you guys. Good job. Good job. All right. Same thing. This icy continent at the bottom of the world is home to the penguins.
And starting with you.
Wait, hold on. I forgot about this. Right?
I'm the host. I can't give answers.
It's Antarctica. All right. A. N. It's a continent. Oh.
T. What?
We have A and T so far.
A.
R.
Wait. And. C.
Is it Antarctica?
No. T.
C.
And you already got it wrong. There's an I in there.
Oh, emergency vote again.
Another vote.
Time to shove someone out the airlock. We'll kind of
right.
do it the same way again. We'll just the magical scanner. Well, it seems like everyone's pointing over there. So let's just go. Let's go stand over here first.
All right. Let's see.
Is it here? Beep, 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 beep.
Wow, okay.
Beep, beep,
Man's keeping it safe.
beep, 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 beep. There's I guess, more of a beep. Beep, beep, beep. Okay, I think it's pretty
All right.
obvious now.
You're out, bud.
Question is, are you the imposter? He is an imposter.
Ooh, okay, we did it. Let's go.
Can we have a little bit more of a dramatic exit? Vote on the answer, the majority wins. In what country was the world's largest T-Rex skeleton discovered?
Canada, England, or Kazakhstan?
And you guys are still on the clock a little bit, so yeah, make sure you get a consensus. Do we have a final answer? Someone's going to have to say an answer.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Someone else say it. The last one.
Canada.
No.
We heard Canada. We'll give them Canada. No?
it was Canada.
No? Yeah, you guys were right.
Oh, Canada. Let's go.
In which city is a Sistine Chapel?
Oh, I know this. No. It's somewhere. Vatican City. Okay, they're probably. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's Vatican City.
Vatican City.
Was it the Vatican City?
If not, it's Rome.
It was the Vatican
There we
City.
go.
Another basic
No
trivia.
or go.
How many actual states are on a map of the U.S.?
Wait. Is that, like, does it count the other ones?
Buddy, I've made this clear. I can't give answers.
Well, it's either 50 or 48 then. Well, I'm just going to say 50 because that's what I think.
All right.
The 50 nifty United States.
Who was the second president of the United States?
It starts. No.
You've got this, man.
I mean, you guys can help him out too, since you are his crewmates.
It's on my tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue. John Adams.
Is it John Adams? It is John Adams.
John
All right.
Adams. All right, emergency vote.
Okay.
Well, did you get the trusty
Who we
scanner
vote?
out again?
Yeah, let's do the scanner. Let's do it.
Boop. 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 Boop.
Okay.
Boop. Boop. Boop, 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 boop.
All right.
You're trying to run away from me. That's a little,
That's a little sad.
Oh. I don't know. It's.
That's what I thought.
Okay, well, there's less of that.
Okay.
Wait, are you going back? Shouldn't have said that.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
you're-
pretty.
you're out.
You're the one. You're the one. Who are you?
Roommate.
He was a crewmate.
Roommate. Okay.
Time trial. 20 seconds this time. That's all the time in the world. Form a human pyramid using all crewmates and hold for 5 seconds.
What? That's. Time's running out.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'd say it's pretty good. I mean, how would you guys rank this pyramid? Pretty good? Decent? All right. Good enough. I think you guys pass. All right, a team answer. And so the question is a team, each person giving one answer. Well, you guys are all the team.
You're all a team. You're all winners.
In order, starting from nearest the sun, name all 9 planets in the solar system. So, you have to name the
includes
first
Pluto.
one,
I don't care what they say.
second, and we'll just go on down the line. So, the planet closest to the sun is...
Mercury,
Venus.
Earth, Mars, Neptune,
No.
Ooh.
Mercury, Venus, Earth,
Neptune's
Mars,
near
Jupiter,
the
Saturn,
end.
Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto.
All right, name all 7 continents from biggest to smallest. Yes, you are starting first.
You're starting, okay.
Asia,
North America,
Asia, Africa, North, then South America, Antarctica, Europe, Australia.
Africa's a really good song. Name any element from the periodic table.
Thallium.
Wait, my turn?
Yep.
Oh, helium. Oxygen.
Iron.
Gold. Hydrogen.
All right, all right.
I'm
Very
not
well
reading all
done.
of that out.
Oh, emergency vote. All right. I'm bringing it back out again. I'm bringing it back out. Who will I start with? We'll start over here. We'll just go over here. Boop. 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 Sorry, I think.
Sorry, Nadia.
Oh, it's another crew member.
Another crewmate.
Man. So there's still one more imposter on here, but who? Who? A team spell check. A landform surrounded by a majority of water, but connected to the mainland.
All right.
P. E.
N.
N.
No.
A convex quadrilateral with at least one pair of parallel sides.
And you're starting here?
What?
Yes.
Oh, I know it. A trapezoid.
Okay, spell it.
Oh.
Are you sure it's not a circle?
T.
R.
A.
P.
O.
Wrong. an E.
Trapezoid.
We got a time trial.
20 seconds again. Oh, piece of cake, right? Touch every wall in the room and come back. Go.
You gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast. I want to see knees to chest. Show me the hustle.
wall was located.
Time's up. Emergency vote again. Do you guys think we'll find the imposter this time? Maybe? Do you guys feel good about who you're gonna vote for? Lost a shoe.
Straight up left.
All right. We'll start down here this time.
Okay, cool.
Boop. Boop. Boop, 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 boop.
Okay. Huh? No takers? Okay.
And it's between these two. Between these two. Boop. Boop, 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 boop. That one sounded louder, so. Are you a crewmate or an imposter? Oh, man.
Wait, what?
This imposter's good. They're really good.
This imposter's moving a bit mad, honestly.
Hiding in the shadows.
Got a spell check.
Spelling. Spell the answers to the question. This sport is played on ice and involves stones and brooms. And I believe that this is an individual.
All right, who we starting
Where
with?
did we leave off again?
I have no idea.
Well, you seem to know the answer.
Broom ball.
Can you spell it?
B. Oh, like the whole thing?
Oh,
You're
it's
already right, it's
curling.
curling.
Ooh, curling.
The last state to be admitted into the United States.
Hawaii.
Can you spell it?
Hawaii.
AII. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. Still pretty sus, though. Still pretty sus. All right, a floating marker in the ocean.
The longitude and latitude or whatever. Do I have to spell it?
Yeah,
Like
go ahead.
both of it? L?
It's a buoy.
White fluffy thing you burn to make s'mores. Okay, first of all, you don't burn them, you toast them.
Marshmallow. M-A-S-A.
Nope. There's an R. It's not marshmallow.
The fictional kingdom ruled by Elsa, the Snow Queen.
Arendelle. A-R-A-N-D-L-E. Oh.
Two L's. Two L's. Oh, vote again. You gotta make sure you choose wisely this time. There's still one imposter up here, but 4 people. It's getting smaller and smaller. We'll go to this end this time. Bring out the trusty scanner.
Okay.
Boop, 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 boop.
All right. Bruh.
Do I even need to? No. Okay. Oh, well. All right. Sorry. Are you the imposter? Another crew member.
Oh, come on.
Man. The imposter's still out there.
A much longer space voyage than I expected.
No or go. Which 2 U.S. states don't observe daylight savings time? Hint, they're both known for their warm weather.
Me? Hawaii and California.
Ooh,
Hawaii and Arizona.
It was close. It was close.
Why does Arizona got to be different like that? What mountain range runs from Maine to Georgia?
Appalachian Mountains.
The Appalachian.
No
Let's
hesitation
go.
whatsoever.
All right.
What 3-letter word means the smallest piece of information used by a computer?
I gotta think about this.
Time's ticking.
How much time do I got? Because I really got
Not much more.
USB. That's the only word I know.
It's a bit.
It's a bit. All right. How many U.S. states share a land border with Alaska?
None.
Piece of cake. Piece
Trick
of
question.
cake. Well, look at that. Welcome to
hilarious.
Zelton 5. We did it, guys.
We gotta know, who was the other imposter?
We are curious. Who is the imposter? It's you. I don't know. I think, yeah, if you guys just want to go back to your seats, I think that was, since we're at Zelton 5 already, so.
All right.
All right, we'll just invite the worship team up if they want to come and get up, and we'll go to time of worship, but first we'll just pray our way in. All right. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this night, for the opportunity to gather here together and just grow deeper in your word and get to know you more. We thank you for the community you give us here, and we just pray that you're just with the night, that the leaders can have good insight and that people can get their questions answered. And we just thank you for all you're doing in our lives. We lift this up in your name. Amen.
Amen. All right, you guys can stand up, and we're going to sing.
In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. You are
raise a hallelujah louder than the unbelief. I raise a hallelujah. My weapon is a melody. I raise a hallelujah. Heaven comes to fight for me. I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm. Louder and louder, you're gonna hear my praises roar. Up from the ashes, hope will arise. Death is defeated, the King is alive. I raise a hallelujah with everything inside me. I raise a hallelujah. I will watch the darkness flee. I raise a hallelujah in the middle of the mystery. I raise a hallelujah. Fear you lost your hold on me. I'm gonna sing. I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm. Louder and louder, you're gonna hear my praises roar. From the ashes, hope will arise. Death is defeated, the King is alive. Sing a little louder.
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 In the presence of my enemies,
Sing a little louder.
louder than the unbelief.
Sing a little louder.
My weapon is a melody.
Sing a little louder.
Heaven comes to fight for me.
Sing a little louder. I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm. Louder and louder, you're gonna hear my praises roar. From the ashes, hope will arise. Death is defeated, the King is alive. I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm. Louder and louder, you're gonna hear my praises roar. From the ashes, hope will arise. Oh, death is defeated, the King is alive.
Peace, bring it all to peace. Storm surrounding me, let it break. At your name, still call the sea to still, the rage in me to still every wave. At your name, Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus.
you for this time together and that we can all be here to worship you and learn more about you. I pray that you will speak to us through Robbie tonight, Lord. And I pray that you will keep everyone safe and healthy during this time. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, you guys can be seated. Middle schoolers, you're going downstairs.
Number 1, yep. All right. All right, well, everyone's getting situated here. If you guys haven't paid attention, you knew this was coming. That we are having a panel tonight. Something I didn't know about COVID was that microphones get wiped down. So Noah over here is doing that for everyone really quick. Give a round of applause to Noah. While we're doing that, I can give you guys some waters. More water. All right, so we have been collecting your guys' questions for the last few weeks. Some of you guys have submitted them online. I just looked at the form, and some of you guys just submitted some. And don't use the form now. If you guys have some further ones and we're able to work through the list that we already have, we will go to some questions that you guys submit today if you guys want to. You'll do that by texting Jackie or Kendra. We put 2 numbers up there just in case you didn't want the person to know who you were. You can text the person whose number you don't have, or that they wouldn't have your number, if that makes sense, so that it can still be anonymous. Which, one of the questions that was just asked like 30 minutes ago was, is this really anonymous? The answer is yes, it really is. So everyone's got mics? All right. Sweet. So real quick, why don't we have each of you, I know you guys know most of these people, probably, but let's just go ahead and introduce ourselves, and you guys will get to each answer one of the easier questions that got turned in. Maybe. We'll solve a dilemma, which is, do you eat macaroni and cheese or the like with a fork or a spoon? So I'll start. My name's Robbie. I'm the high school pastor here. If you didn't know that, that's who I am. And I eat it with a fork. My wife disagrees.
My name's Charlie, Charlie Grill with the high school guys. And I would also say I do it with a fork.
Nice.
My name's Emily. I'm with the sophomore girls, and I actually do both. It depends what I grab first.
Yes.
Thank you, Mandy.
So decisive. My name is Brandon. I'm with the 10th grade boys.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's right.
Silent cheer over there. I like it.
And I eat macaroni and cheese with a fork like a normal person.
Nice.
My name is Steve Schwartz, and I work with the kids, the younger ones. So, but macaroni and cheese is eaten with a fork.
My name is Linda Schwartz, and I go with the fork as well.
My name is Mandy. I'm with the 9th grade girls. Woo! Okay. I eat it with a fork unless it's Panera mac and cheese, and then I eat it with a spoon. So I do both.
Is it just extra soupy or?
It's because I usually have a salad with it, and I don't want to put my fork in my salad and my macaroni and cheese.
Got it. All right. Well, like I said, we're going to be, the way it's going to work, just so you guys are aware, is I'm primarily just asking the questions you guys have asked, and these lovely folks are going to do their best at answering, providing some answers or gaining some more clarity. And if you see me looking at my phone a lot, it's because I'm getting some of the questions from my phone. I promise I'm not just like texting my friends. So neither should you. Or like checking, well, I didn't want that to come up, but. So we're gonna start with this one. So the first set is kind of dealing with some anxiety and depression type questions. And just so you guys are aware, some of the ones I just saw on here, I might kind of loop into this that I think they fit the category, so that's why some of them might come up. But first one is my anxiety a result of or punishment for my sin?
I'll start with that one. The simple answer is no. Simple answer is just no. And there was a time when the Pharisees were trying to trick Jesus into trying to figure out what's what they did. They tried to trick Jesus. And they said, to this man who is blind, I believe, was it he that sinned or his father? And Jesus said, no, none of them had sinned. And we just know that the answer to that is simply no.
Yeah, I think you pretty much got it. Super true. So the next question is, how do we, I'm going to read it verbatim, by the way. How do we, fully get over anxiety and depression? That was how it was written. I think that's how they wanted me to read it.
I think for many people, I think we really can deal with anxiety or depression throughout our lives, whether it's from time to time, whether there's a time when things are hard and we're feeling depressed or feeling anxious, and then we have some times that are higher. It's kind of an ebb and flow. And I think there are some people who really struggle with depression or anxiety throughout their lives who are following Christ. Some may even take medication or have doctors that they see, a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist, to help them through those things. And God is perfectly capable of healing them, and they may be asking for healing from that, and God may say, yes, that's what I'm going to give, I'm going to heal you. And he also may say, I want you to trust me through this, and I'm going to work through you, and you may even be the one who gives hope to someone else who's struggling with this, because I'm going to show them that you can be faithful and trust me in this. And that may just really bring hope to the next person who's struggling and who's saying, wow, can I trust God in this? So.
Yeah, so and to piggyback back off of that a little bit, one of my really good friends really struggled with depression a lot. And he would talk to me about it, and he would talk to me about all the times he was feeling depressed and why he was feeling depressed. And we would talk through it, and I think every time after he would just simply talk to someone about it, he always felt better because you had someone on the other side to say, what you're feeling depressed about isn't really normal, and this is the reality of what you're feeling. And then talking through that, I think he always felt better about it. And so I think it's really important that you find someone that you can confide in to talk to about these things, because anytime you get these things off your chest, you're always going to feel so much better.
Yeah. So the short answer then, we'd all agree, is that fully getting over it may not happen. Right? Is that kind of what we're all agreeing on? And maybe we kind of answered this a little bit, but just to kind of expand on that a little bit it's not a punishment for sin necessarily, and we may not fully get over it. So what might you offer as hope to someone in that situation?
I think, at least I can only speak to my experience, but those types of things have always been a season for me. And I know it's not that case for everyone, but sometimes those seasons are really short, when I didn't study for a test. And sometimes they're a lot longer and just take longer to work through. But I think those have also been the times when I do lean in on other relationships. It's probably the times in my life when I've seen my faith grow the most, and when the people that I do open up to, it typically deepens those relationships more than just seeing each other on a regular, day in and day out kind of a basis. Opening up and being vulnerable have definitely made those relationships dive deeper.
So I would agree. I would say that you're never going to fully get over it in this side of heaven, but it doesn't have to be crippling either. And part of that is being willing to open up and talk to someone, but don't talk to someone who's going to give you godly advice and who's going to point you to Christ and point you back to the Bible, because that's where your hope is. And don't let it overwhelm you to the point that you never speak about it. I know sometimes it's hard to talk about these things, but when we talk about them, that's what helps them lose their power. At least that's what I've found in my own life. And if you're a music person, put on music. Put on worship music or something that will, again, point you back to Christ.
Two things. One, I think for me, in my own experience, when I'm feeling anxious, which happens pretty regularly, I just have to stop and say, God, I'm feeling overwhelmed, and help me to see things with the perspective that you have. And I appreciate what Mandy said in talking to someone who's going to help you see what God is seeing and to look for his perspective. And I just want to encourage you, you have amazing adults here who are committed to you, who are praying for you, who would listen to you. And I just urge you to, it's great to have friends our own age. I'm all about that myself as well. But even I appreciate having people who are just farther down the road than me, who maybe have some perspective and some experience that I could lean on. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that and the people here.
That's good stuff. To piggyback too off some of that real quick, I promise I wouldn't say that much, but here I go, is like kind of what Mandy was saying is that, because I've had my own struggles with anxiety and still do in various ways, and one of the constant practices that I try to remind myself of is kind of a practice of expectation, basically, and reminding myself of where my hope is in practically. And one of the ways that works out is like, I wanted to be a youth pastor for a long time, for instance. And one of the things that I keep reminding myself when I finally got this job was to remind myself that my hope is not found in being a youth pastor, because this job would let me down over and over again. You guys sometimes make it difficult, like super challenging, right? It's not easy. COVID, right? All these things. And to remind myself that I will not find satisfaction from getting this job I want. Maybe it'll be cool in some regards, but ultimately my hope is found in Jesus. And so like just continually reminding myself, even in small things, like maybe some of you guys want a car, your hope won't be found in that. Maybe you want a boyfriend or girlfriend, your hope won't be found in that. I wanted to get married. Taylor's awesome, but my hope was not found there. The next question kind of goes into this really well, because you guys are all talking to people. And this question is, if I can handle depression on my own, do I have to talk to others about it?
I would say yes. Just sometimes, like we were saying in the last question, like talking to people can really help you process. And it also helps too to not have it be in the dark. It's not a secret then. And people can step alongside you and help you in that and keep you accountable and check in on you and say, how are you doing today? And really mean that and not just have it be a surface question. So I think it's important that even if you feel like you're handling it, have someone that's close to you, whether it's a parent or a leader or a close friend, have someone that knows what's going on so that they can check in on you.
Yeah. But they can handle on their own, guys. I don't know if I just wanted to clarify that.
I mean, that's what you might think, but Hello, can you hear me? Okay. But stuff is going to come up. You've been able to handle everything until this certain point, but when you go to college and you hit the real world, you'll find out that the high school and the middle school life that you've lived has been a piece of cake, because the real world is tough, and college will change your world and how you see things, and sometimes not for the better. So if you can have a person that you can confide in, and that especially if you're battling this issue, to talk through these things, if something big comes up, you'll need someone who's in your court, especially who's a biblical person and a godly person that can point you in that right direction, because you never know.
I think too, whether it's something like anxiety or just about anything, when I've typically heard people say, well, I can handle it on my own, even though they might be able to kind of struggle through it on their own and make it a certain distance, it's always been easier when you include other people.
That's good. I think one other thing too is that by doing this, you're depriving people who love you the opportunity to come alongside you too. There's a lot of people that support you and want to support you better, but it can only do so if they know what's going on. So this one kind of goes into it, is with this category anyways, is how, as an introvert, do I socialize with people?
Okay, I got that. I'm an introvert, and yet I do a very public job, and I'm a pretty public person here at this church. And introverts can be very capable socially, and can engage in all kinds of different ways, and be very, very influential and dynamic in all kinds of settings. The thing that's important to understand if you're an introvert is that you don't get your energy from doing those things. Your energy comes from whatever you do to restore yourself. For me, it's running or skiing or some time just by myself, reading. I find that that's where I get energy, and then I'm ready to go out there and do those things. So I'm kind of a person who feels like, this term introvert gets kind of pushed aside as being like, I'm a second-class person because I don't get my energy from people. And that doesn't make sense to me. And so I just would encourage you to understand that about yourself, to say, where do I get my power? Where do I get my strength? And go out there and be strong in those other environments.
Boom. Mic drop. All right, we're going to switch up categories a little bit. These questions kind of deal with questions regarding LGBTQ and that sort of stuff. So the first one is, should we call non-binary and transgender people by their preferred pronouns and name?
Yes. Yes, you should. The first commandment in the Bible is to love God. The second is to love others. And we're not loving others well if we're not respecting where they are right there. That's the short answer.
I would agree with Mandy.
I was waiting to see if anyone said anything different.
I'll just acknowledge that I'll acknowledge that can be challenging. I've experienced the challenges of that, and yet I do think it kind of comes down to love your neighbor, and what does that individual need, and the individual needs to be shown grace and mercy and love like anyone else.
And thinking back to the Bible, Jesus loved people exactly where they were and for who they were. He didn't make them change anything about themselves to become his disciple.
And just, sorry. I teach kindergarten, and just names are important. And if it's someone's name, we need to respect them. And that's a way of showing love, is just respecting what they choose to call themselves.
Question then from there. When does at what point do you, like, where's the line in loving and then also truth of where, does that make sense? It's not a full question, but.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. I just would like to kind of go to the topic a little bit broader and just share a general thought about sin. And, you know, Romans 3 is really clear that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And that's a reality. And what do we call that sin? What is the name of that sin? Is it pride? Is it selfishness? Is it murder? Is it, we've kind of I think in recent years, kind of created a list, a ranking, a hierarchy of the types of sins that are really bad and the types of sins that are sort of okay. And sin is sin. And straight up sin is sin. And so when we think about this area of life, I think it's important for us to not make a ranking of it, and to realize that we treat anybody that is, well, we're all sinners, right? And we love everyone, and that we recognize that it's you know, we've all fallen short of the glory of God. And so I think that that's an important perspective. And then when do we do that? Well, I think to your question, when we're in relationship with people, and when we have a platform then to talk with them about things that are real in their lives. But so my wife and I have a platform like that. We're the token old people here. Been married 30 years, and we still have to be pretty careful about when we talk to each other about what might be a sin in our lives, right? Because that's kind of, that's something you take care to do. And so I think that it's about being in relationship, demonstrating love, and finding that time to do that that's appropriate.
I think there's also a difference in if you're talking to someone who is a professed believer or not. When you're talking to someone who is a professed believer, that opens a different door for having conversations about sin and what's right and what's wrong. But two, you also have to do that out of a relationship, because you can't just walk up to someone and start that conversation if you don't have a relationship with them, because they're not going to hear you. But there's a whole different level when you're talking to someone who does not even profess God in the first place, because they don't have a basis for right and wrong like you do.
That was good. I liked both of those really well. So, this is a question to all of you, obviously. Are you homophobic? Explain. It's great not knowing like where they're coming from with some of these questions, but that's the question.
I feel like I'm talking too much, but you know, here's the thing about that question: there's a kid's book, and it's in this book. It's this thing where you guys are. And this is a bad example. I should stop now. But and it's this kid gets teased because he keeps telling everybody he doesn't pick his nose, right? And he's like, I don't pick my nose. I don't pick my nose, and it becomes the only thing that people are thinking about. My point in this is probably pretty dim at this moment, but I want you to just know that when we think about bias, it's important for us to realize that we all pick our nose, right? That there's bias in all of us. And what we do as mature followers of Christ and as people who are loving others is we recognize bias and try to overcome that with love. And so this question is you know, am I homophobic? Well, I sure hope not. But I'm looking carefully at that question to say, are there areas in my life where I'm not demonstrating love to somebody who lives differently than I do?
Nice. The next question might be hard to answer in some respect, but how can a person deal with homosexual feelings?
I think that one thing to keep in mind is what we were talking about earlier of we all have a basis of sin. Like all of us are dealing with some sort of a sin, whether it's lying, whether it's pride, whether it's homosexuality, like whatever that sin is, we all have problems with that. And being that we are sinful people, we have a choice when temptation comes to us. We can either give in to it, or we can stand up and say, I know this isn't what the Bible calls me to, and I'm going to find ways to stand up and say no. Sometimes that's taking yourself out of a situation that might make you more tempted. Sometimes that's confiding in someone that you trust to say, I'm really struggling with this. Can you help keep me accountable? Or asking someone that you really trust and saying, what can I do about this? I think it really depends on each person's situation that they're in.
For this one too, like, one, you're welcome to come talk to me, but I think sometimes, at least in my opinion, you guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but like, I can talk to you guys, you boys, about struggles with lust or whatever all day long, because that's exactly what I struggled with. Like, that's where my sin was in high school, right? And still, in some regards, still is. Like, it's not like it's just done. But it helps to find people that have a perspective that's somewhat similar to yours, that are coming from a similar starting point. It's not going to be exactly the same ever. And there are a lot of good resources. I'm remembering her last name right now. It's Rachel Gilson, I think, is one of my favorite ones I've heard of. She is the theological director or something like that for Crew. And she's written a good amount of books, and I just really respect the way she approaches this topic, and would probably be a better place. Like, I would direct you to some of her resources before trying to give you a bunch of advice that I have no idea what I'm talking about, if that makes sense. So, with that, we will. I just realized they're texting me questions that deal with like the topics that we're talking through. So one of them, we're going to go back one really quick, just because I think it's a really good one. So it's a little long, but it says, how do I talk to my friend that talks a lot about depression and suicide and stuff like that, but every time I try to have a serious conversation with them, they just make jokes and don't take me or the conversation seriously?
If you have a friend, like, in all seriousness, if you have a friend that's talking about suicide, talk to an adult. Get an adult involved, because you don't know, especially if they're not willing to have a serious conversation with you, you don't know how serious they are about it. So get an adult involved.
And at the end of the day, I know it's hard because you don't want to lose a relationship, but losing a relationship is better than losing a friend.
And continue to love that person for who they are. You know, I think I've never had those feelings, but continue to love them, and I think sometimes showing that to that person will go a long way. It just on the acceptance, I mean, that's what God would tell us to do, to love our neighbor.
I actually had a situation like that when I was in high school. I had a friend confided in me and said that they were thinking about taking their own life. Had made me promise, before they told me, of course, not to tell anyone. I wrestled with that, finally ended up telling my parents, because I was like, this doesn't sound good. I don't think this is right. My parents went over to their house, and my friend was very mad at me. But they ended up getting my friend into some counseling, got him on some meds, and that helped. It took probably a good 3 months of being mad at me before they were willing to talk to me again. But when they finally did reach out, they actually told me that if I hadn't said something, they already had a plan to take their life that night. So by being willing to speak up and go, something's not right here, they actually came back to me later on, once they were not so mad at me, and said, thank you, because I had a plan and I was willing to go through on it. So you just don't know where your friends are at, so be willing to speak up.
And I think too often in those types of moments, they may not be able to see the love, and that's part of the frustration. But once they're to a place where they can kind of assess things, they're able to see the love in the intention, and just really, I think it allows it to come full circle.
And now we're jumping back to the one we were just on. is it biblical to go to a gay wedding? I think that deals with my question of the love and truth, right?
So this actually came up at a Bible study that I was in. Member of the Bible study had a good friend whose daughter was actually having the gay wedding. And kind of just had the mixed feelings of, if I go, I'm supporting it. But I really love and care for this person, the family, I've watched them grow up, like want to be able to be there and support them. And just having that wrestle. And it really came down to, I think, what everyone here has touched on is you can love that person. You don't need to love the sin. And being able to go and show them that, hey, I love you. I may not believe the same things that you do, but I can come and show that I love you as a person.
Yeah, so I think that's a good answer. 'Cause I think it goes back to even like the transgender question that was asked is, so do you call them by their preferred pronoun, right? You as a Christian may believe that that's not true, right? And you're still willing to call them by that preferred pronoun. And it's similar, like you're like, okay, well, this shouldn't be how marriage is. I don't believe in this. I think there's a line though too, like for me personally, like I know, like I may be able to find it okay to be as loving as possible towards someone that was doing this, but like if they asked me to perform the wedding, I wouldn't be able to say yes to that. Like, you know, so I think you're also not going to find a Bible verse that says thou shalt not go to a gay wedding, right? And so some of these things, I think that you have to lean into with a lot of grace on the person and yourself, and look at the whole arc of biblical wisdom that's in front of you, and make wise choices that don't violate the conscience that God's given you, and the Spirit working inside of you. And ask lots of advice like you guys are doing. But I think Charlie's answer is really good. So we'll move into a different category. This one is revolving around some like dating questions type of things. So the first one is, what are things I can pray about or remember when wanting a significant other but not knowing if it's God's timing for me yet?
I think I'll start. I would say first and foremost, I've had a little bit of experience with this. So my prayer has always been that God would help me be content with the stage of life he had me in as he had me there. And that may sound like a pat answer, but it's really hard. I've had moments in life where I prayed that God would bring somebody or remove the desire to get married and have kids, and God made the desire to get married and have kids stronger, or at least I felt like he did, because it got stronger, and yet I'm still single. And so my other prayer on the side of that is, God, help me just to be content and to live into this singleness in a way that glorifies you. And I can honestly tell you that I have done some amazing things that I never would have done had I gotten married earlier. And it's not ever going to be easy, especially if you really are struggling and you really want to be in a relationship. But the other thing that I would encourage you to know is that your worth comes from who you are in Christ and not whether or not you're in a relationship. And until you recognize that, your relationship isn't going to be healthy.
I think too, in looking at the question, asking others to be praying for you, and asking them to speak wisdom into your life, and praying for that. I know growing up having a handful of people and praying that, whether it was dating, who to marry, job, whatever it might be, having a core group of people that I could go to and look to for godly wisdom. When I was praying, one of the prayers would be, God, help speak through these people into my life. And I continually am amazed. If you ever want to talk about it, I've got crazy stories. My group knows. But just times where it was like, God, just be so clear on this. And every one of them, almost verbatim, would say the exact same thing. And I'm not saying that's going to happen every time, but God absolutely answers prayers. And asking him to give you wisdom and to speak wisdom through others is one way that I've seen that happen.
So we'll move on to the next one so I think it goes in well because it's like, okay, so I'm in a relationship now, let's say, and maybe I shouldn't be, but I already made that choice. I'm already in it. So the question is, how can I recognize a toxic relationship? The question's also pertaining to friendship, though, so relationship or friendship, but maybe just like, what are some markers that if these things are happening, you should have some red flags going on in your head?
Yeah, exactly what you said. Like when the red flags start to go off, whether that's the littlest of things, especially when you're dating, that some things that just don't sit right or that make the relationship difficult, I feel like that those should be the leading indicators of something is wrong with this relationship. Because when you find the one that you want to get married, everything will just happen, and it's so easy, and your relationship just works, and there's no red flags. And when you get to that and you find that relationship, you're so glad that you did not compromise on those relationships, that you had so many initial red flags that you look back and you say, God, thank you for saving me from those people that otherwise my life would not be where I'm at today, and I'm so much more happier with this person.
So you had no red flags with your fiance?
If she's watching, no. Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Good answer. Well, I had some flags about Taylor early on. She could probably list off the ones she had about me too. So just to kind of add some spice to this, is that everyone's experience? When you found the one, did you know they were the one? And how did you know?
I met my wife in 8th grade, so no, I didn't know that for a long time.
When did you guys start actually dating? Just to clarify?
Sophomore in college.
Okay, so it took a while.
Took a while.
Yeah.
Took a while. And that was mutual, by the way. It wasn't too sad. Neither one of us figured it out for a while. But no, I think no matter what the relationship is, whether it's just friends or dating or whatever it might be, I think if you're thinking about it ahead of time and you're putting lines in the sand of, I don't want to drink at this party, or it could be I don't want to, cross this line in this relationship. If you find yourself creeping up on those lines or crossing those lines, even if they're really little things, like you said, it could be like constantly staying out late, something that's super menial, like very little. But if you're crossing those boundaries that you've set for yourself, then there's something in that relationship that needs to be addressed.
I would say too, I know for me, you guys can ask me about it later if you want, but I had some really not good relationships throughout high school and college. But one of the things that, thinking back on those relationships, that was a common theme was I had family or friends around me that were all telling me, like, this isn't a good person for you. You're making choices that aren't who you are when you're with this person. I had that happen with friendships too. My mom was oftentimes the one who would catch on to it sooner than anyone else and be like, since when do you do that? I don't know, I just do. Okay, no, you started doing that when you started hanging out with this person. So I think it's really valuable to listen to what your friends and family are saying, and I know it can be really easy to ignore that or to justify, like, well, they only saw that side of it. But just be mindful when you're hearing multiple people say to you, like, hey, I don't think this is healthy.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, I think too, just to add on like some of what Brandon said, I think just because I don't know fully if everyone who finds a spouse will have like no problems, like, or no like things that come up. So Taylor and I always talk about our dating life as being somewhat turbulent, and like, but that was like how we did it. Like we worked through things, we were honest with each other, we brought up some of the things we were concerned about with the other and talked through them. And for me, that was the thing that lowered the flags, was that Taylor was willing to talk to me about them and work through them, admit when she was wrong. She was willing to call me on stuff and all that kind of stuff. But we also like purposely, like we started dating older, and we said like in a year we're either going to be married or not together, and that's what we did. We got married in a year. So we like purposely brought stuff up. Like we were like, let's do this, let's figure out, and let's not waste time dating. But just to clarify, like I think, and what Emily said too helps with that, sometimes there might be some issues, but there's some things that are bad issues, deal breaker issues, and Charlie too, with like lines or making you cross lines and things like that.
Maybe I could just chime in one little thing here. It's just kind of a simple thing, and I see this a lot with some of the mediating I do. Is if somebody isn't for you all the time, they're not for you. So if they change based on who they're around, if they're not for you all the time, they're not for you. And how do you feel? Do you all the time around that person, and do you trust them? And I think that transcends whether it's a dating relationship or a friend relationship. And I just want you to think about that.
And I just want to jump off that too. Just because someone's calling you out on something doesn't mean they're not for you. You know, if it really takes, some of you may have done this, it takes a tremendous amount of courage to call a friend out when they are doing something wrong. And so that absolutely doesn't mean that they're not for you. They're actually way more for you. So.
That's good. So this one kind of pertains is, if a guy is teasing me or flirting with me maybe, how do I know if he is flirting or being mean?
This happens all the time at my house, even now. He said, like, you're being mean. He's just joking around. I don't know.
It's a tricky one. I think that the bottom line is guys just relate a lot differently than girls do, and it's important for the guy to bend and say, you know, if that thing doesn't feel right, then you don't do that. And you know, in 30 years, we've kind of gotten an understanding. But I still have to be like, no, really, that was a joke. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you upset. So it's a tricky one, but I just think you have to. I think guys need to be more sensitive to the way girls need to be talked to, and girls need to be ones to say, hey, I didn't like that. So that helps.
I do think that is a key. If you say to someone, wow, that was mean, and they respond, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to be mean, then you know. But if they're like, then they were probably just being mean.
Yeah, let's all agree really quick that the saying, if a guy's being mean to you, he's flirting with you, is not a good rule of thumb. Let's just all try to kill that one real quick. It's not, guys, that's not how you should tell a girl. The way you should tell a girl you like them is you should say to them, hey, I like you. That's what you should say. Your job is to create clarity in a relationship. If you're causing confusion, you're not doing your job. I'm being serious. So if they're not creating clarity for you, then forget about them. That's my honest opinion. Sorry, I like that one a little bit.
I'll just throw in, so my mom always told me that you show that you're interested in a girl by really respecting her. And that worked pretty well for me.
Nice. So, yeah. Obviously, if they're joking around with you, that could be one thing, but being mean to you is not okay. And again, just tell them. That's what you do. That's how they know that you like them, is you tell them. It's really easy that way. And then they'll tell you yes or no, and then you'll know too. It's crazy. It's crazy. You'll just have an answer because you asked it anyways.
I tell my 3-year-old, use your words.
Yeah. Use your words.
That's good.
All right. I'm trying. Okay. So I'm trying to decide which ones to go for now. I'll just do this one. Let's try not to. I'm going to choose, believe this is a serious question. How do I reject 12 boys? Brandon was passionate about this one, so.
You wanted this one. It's all you.
Quickly.
Yes.
Quickly. Yeah, so.
I was thinking one at a time.
Not a group text.
Why are you entertaining the thought of 12 boys? Try that. That's be horrible.
Yeah, so if the guy's job is to create some clarity there, you got to respond back with some clarity too. So there's that. All right, we didn't give a full answer, but basically you should do it quickly. You should be honest. And don't keep leading them on. Don't let them think, your actions say things.
Don't try to date more than one person at one time. I can tell you that from experience. This does not go well, especially when you call the one by the wrong name. Then that typically goes badly.
I didn't do well in this interview for small group leaders, I guess. I'm just joking. Okay, so I'm not going to go to the next section here because there's a few that went in on the form right before this that I think are good ones. So one of them is simple yet not simple at all, is how do I know that I'm going to heaven?
I will say if you have, the simple answer is if you have acknowledged that you are a sinner and you need God in your life, and you have acknowledged that Jesus left his throne in heaven, came to earth, lived a perfect life, died a death that you deserved, rose from the dead 3 days later, and that he is God in human form, and you have a relationship with him that precedes everything else, then you know you're going to heaven. That's the simple gospel answer. I think it's a little more complicated than that, but it's really about whether or not you have made that acknowledgement that you're a sinner and you have gone to God with it.
I know when I was in high school, I always felt like I would hear a speaker or a friend or somebody where it was like, on January 15th of this day, this happened and my life changed. And that wasn't my story. Like, I grew up in a Christian home, and it just kind of felt like everything was just kind of rolling for me. And I found as I got older and I started to really make it my faith, I wasn't just tagging along with my family. All of a sudden it was like my choice to go to church, find a church, like, do I believe what that church said? Like, all of a sudden it was like a whole different ballpark. And I started thinking, like, wait, so if I'm wrestling with these questions, does that mean that I wasn't a Christian before? And the truth is, like, it's a process. Like, just because you have questions or doubts doesn't mean that you're not going to heaven. Like, that's part of the gig, and God loves answering those questions. And we all do too, so.
And wrestling with the things that we've already talked about, wrestling with those also doesn't mean, like, we're all tempted. So that doesn't mean that you're not a Christian.
And if you have more questions, come catch one of us leaders or your small group leader afterwards, and we'd love to talk with you more about this.
Yeah, the beauty of the gospel is that it doesn't depend on you. So the fact that Jesus paid the price for your sins and saved you means that you can't lose it, right? So he's paid the price for your sin. You didn't earn it. It was given to you. And so like what Mandy was saying, just to echo that, like the way you know is by acknowledging those truths. And that's why it's so important to remember, like my favorite question to ask people is, what does it mean to be a Christian? And all I'm really looking for is you to give me some sort of answer that revolves around faith, when most people answer some sort of way that involves works. And what that tells me is that you may in your head get the gospel, but functionally you're not experiencing it the way that you should be, which is that you haven't earned it. So being a Christian means you're saved through faith by grace. So that's how you know. But that doesn't mean you won't have doubts. This is just a really good one. But I'm a pastor, so I'm passionate about it, the gospel. Okay. I forgot where I was going after that, though. I just got so many from Kendra. My mind's going a little crazy, and we're almost out of time. What? Got it. Okay, let's go into some of these that were asked first, real quick. So this question is interesting. So these kind of deal with some current stuff, so I think it's important. One is, and I think it's interesting, because it says, do you think Christians in America are oppressed? And at first, I thought they meant like as opposed to other countries, but I'm thankful for the clarifier that says, I personally don't think so compared to other religions in America. So is Christianity oppressed more or less than other religions in the country that's supposed to have freedom of religions, I think is the spirit of the question.
I guess I can only really speak from my experience. And while I would say I've never been oppressed, like when I'm thinking of oppression, I'm thinking of like not allowed to go to church or do things like that. And
like we're here right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say I've necessarily felt that, but being part of a Bible study at work when we were all going to work and things like that, there were definitely times where comments would be made or, things like that. And I wouldn't necessarily qualify it as like an oppression, but sometimes feeling judged, out of place, things like that.
Yeah, I think that Christianity is definitely the majority religion in America, or at least it has been in the past, and so it's coming from that perspective for sure, where it's kind of culturally acceptable, whereas there's other religions that definitely aren't. So I think in some ways the answer to this question is that no, it isn't oppressed more. It might be oppressed less, but I think even what Charlie's getting at and what some of you may have experienced is that the actual living out of Christianity in culture is often oppressed pretty severely in not ways like maybe the church in China is, but in other ways. Like the ridicule of having a Bible study at work, and people think that's super weird, or the way I've had other coworkers at different jobs, not here, thankfully. None of the other people here criticize me for being Christian, but in other jobs, like they like have like weird leading questions all the time, like, so you're a Christian, like, so do you actually believe X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, yeah, I do actually believe that. And then it's like super awkward. I'm sorry if anyone wanted to add to that a little bit, but okay, we got a few more. What does the Bible have to say about civil disobedience?
There's this question is kind of connected to some themes in here, and Pastor Robbie said a little earlier, that we're not going to find a verse about such and such in the Bible, and that's true in this case. Probably the best example of this, in fact, your parents are going to get a letter this week that describes a situation where Jesus was being approached by the guards and the temple guards and the Pharisees, and he was literally being drugged to be persecuted and actually crucified. And at that time, the disciples, some of them rose up. They said, should we fight? And it's recorded that Peter took out a sword and cut off the ear of one of the, I believe the high priest, it might have been the castle guard, and Jesus stopped them and said, and he actually healed the man's ear, which I think was fascinating. And we see other examples where Jesus didn't respond that way, right? He asked, when asked who do we pay taxes to, he honored the government and said, well, whose picture is on the coin? It's Caesar's. Well, they give to Caesar what is Caesar's then. And so there aren't examples of that. I think what we can say about civil disobedience is, and even the top one, for Christianity to be oppressed in the U.S., I think there's some people that might think that this is oppression because we're restricted in the way that we're gathering in a church right now. There are some guidelines that limit the way that we used to do things, and the difference on this from an oppressive perspective is that those guidelines are true in restaurants and in public schools and in places of work and in other places of worship. It's universal, right? And so it isn't singling out any of those religions. So there's a few thoughts around this topic.
Yeah, so trying to decide the follow-up question because my mind goes two ways. One, well, I'll just ask this question. One of the questions on here is, when then should we not obey the government? For instance, right? The Christian church in China doesn't obey the government by being Christians. So at what point should we as Christians not obey the government?
I think the simple answer is if the government is telling you to do something that is directly in contrast to what the Bible says, that's where you need to draw a line. Obviously, if the government's saying, go kill someone, and the Bible says, don't do that. I see an answer out there.
Nice. That's a good answer. I really appreciated that one. Does anyone else want to add anything? Or we just mic drop that one? So just real quick, this will be the last one because we're pretty much out of time. So I see that there's a ton others. We'll have to try to work out a way to try to not just ignore these. But so it's kind of a similar vein, but, and this is a tricky one maybe, but we're kind of talking about right now the mask issue primarily, but there's been a lot of other civil unrest and disobedience going on in our country as of late that's not just involving masks. So if you get where I'm going, are there other things? So is it just when the government tells us we can't worship, or is there other lines in the sand, or I don't know, it's not a full question, but I just think we're only dealing with part of this, where I think that disobedience could go a lot of different ways, and not obeying the government could go a lot of different ways.
You know, as I've thought about this, I think biblically there's a piece here where when Israel wanted to have a king, God said to Israel, why would you want to be like the other nations? Why do you want to have a ruler that will oppress you and all these other things? And I believe that there is a structure that we can expect in government that provides roads and safety in some measure, and education, and in some ways kind of a social support structure in some ways. And in the U.S., that is done alongside the church, not with the church, right? So we know that from U.S. history. That's not true in every country. But I think that when we look at even early on when God established Israel and put a king in place there, that we know that God does direct these things, and he has historically interacted and placed rulers in certain situations to accomplish his purposes. And so I believe have a responsibility to respect the government in the way that we often do, and that when it is in direct opposition to the teachings of the Bible, then we have something different to consider. But I see us as not really anywhere near that at this point.
And also want to point out, everyone in this room is at least within, if not already, within a couple of years of being able to have a voice to that. And we live in an amazing country where we aren't, just ruled by Caesar and we just have to do whatever we're told, or, you're taken out back. We're able to have that voice by educating ourselves and voting. And so I think that's also pretty amazing too, is we don't have to always go burn the town down to get a message across, and I don't think that's right. I think we're able to do it respectfully and lovingly, and through the process that we've got.
And just to kind of echo that again, I think that we should be really thankful that we live in a country that we have such a very pointed Bill of Rights that guarantees you so many different things, including freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom of petition, so you can still do these things under a country that allows you to do those. And I think that we as Americans often forget that we have these liberties, and we really should be thankful that God has put us in this country where we can take advantage of those things.
Nice. Okay. I had a thought, and then I got lost in what you were saying. I was trying to give me a second if it come back to me. I don't think it will, but so like I said, this will be the end of it for now. If you're sitting here right now and you're like, well, one, I texted in a question, Robbie, and you didn't answer it, I'm sorry. Or if you are you just created more questions for me, Robbie, good job. Or whatever it may be, if you are still kind of just lost in your head and want someone to talk to, all of the leaders, the small group leaders, are going to hang back here after we dismiss. So feel free to pull your leader or one of us, whatever it is, aside. And we'd love to have a more direct conversation if you want. But yeah, other than that, I am going to pray for us. And then I got one more thing to show you guys. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for who you are. I thank you, like we just said, that we don't live in a perfect country. The only perfect kingdom we have will come when you bring heaven down to earth. But that we do have a country that offers so many freedoms, like being here right now, and the chance to have these conversations. And so, Father, I just thank you that we are in a season where amongst so many negative things that a positive like this can happen. So Father, I pray that you